Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, Indiana men's soccer stays hot in the month of October with a victory in Ann Arbor. We have more on their dominant road win.
And field hockey secures their first 2 Big Ten wins of the season. We'll show you everything from their 3-0 run. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Josh Pose.
And I'm Kara Adams. And Josh, October is here, which means men's soccer is getting hot, basketball season is upon us, and football is just continuing their dominance.
Yeah, I'm not the only one saying that Indiana football is really fun to watch, and that starts with Curtis Rourke at quarterback. And speaking of Rourke and the Hoosiers, Indiana football is coming off the bye week with an undefeated 6-0 record. Our Joe Cronin dives into the quarterback success with the Hoosiers so far.
While Indiana football may not be playing this week because of their bye week, they're still the hot topic here in Bloomington. They're 6-0 for the first time since '67, bowl eligible for the first time since 2020, and they have one of the most explosive offenses in the country. I can sit here and talk about all the good things happening, but there has been one player standing out from the rest, quarterback Curtis Rourke. The questions about Rourke's ability to thrive in the Big Ten life seem to be getting answered so far this season. The Maple Missile sits atop the conference in both yards and touchdowns up to this point. Rourke has a maturity to his game from his 5 years at Ohio, where he was named the 2022 MAC Player of the Year, as well as consecutive 10-win seasons with the Bobcats. His new head coach, Curt Cignetti, he understands the type of player that he recruited and brought in.
He's not a real rah-rah guy on the field, which is fine. You lead kind of by example and how you do on the field, but he's got the respect of all his teammates.
Like Coach said, Rourke might not be the loudest guy on the field, yet it's been his play that's created the most noise. While some have been taking some stabs at Indiana's schedule, especially with the non-conference slate they had, it is important to note that Curtis Rourke's best games of the year have all come at the most important times this season. In the 3 conference games Indiana has played, Rourke has thrown for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in all of them. He's the only quarterback in the conference with multiple conference performances like that. Even with the shaky start Rourke had against Maryland, the 2 early picks seemed like things weren't going his way, he was still able to torch the Terps when it mattered, and yeah, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns again. One of the most notable parts about Rourke is how, with these big-time performances, he's just still hungry to improve his game each week.
I think he's playing pretty well. He'll be the first to tell you it wasn't perfect. And, he came back from what I thought was a really outstanding performance against UCLA with a pretty solid performance today. But that's why we recruited him, too, because he had already proven himself on tape. And but I am extremely pleased to see the progress he's made since we started playing games.
Although what Coach said was after Rourke's performance in the Charlotte game, it still applies to the mentality the quarterback has after what was arguably his best outing against Northwestern, another 300-yard, 3-touchdown game, and a big win for the Hoosiers.
There's always stuff that I continue to work on. So great statistic game, but it's a lot of confidence building to know that there's so much more out there as well. But happy with the win, and the team's able to go home 6-0.
Been talking a lot about Rourke's stats, but what does that mean from an Indiana history side? He's on pace to set some records this year. Nate Sudfeld's single-season passing yard record set in 2015, that's on pace to be broken, as well as Kellen Lewis's single-season touchdown record in 2007. Now, although Sudfeld averaged more yards per game in 2015, he only played 12 games that season, and Rourke is on pace and should be playing in 13 games at least, considering Indiana is already bowl eligible. Mentioned those big-time performances for Rourke in the Big Ten games, the 300-yard, 3-touchdown games. Yeah, he already has 3 of them. In Sudfeld's record-breaking year, he only had 4 conference games with those stat lines. So Rourke, if he continues it, he should be able to shatter Sudfeld's record in that regard. Moving more towards the national scene, yeah, Curtis Rourke is getting talked about throughout the country as he's entered the Heisman betting odds, cracking into the top 15, sometimes even the top 12, depending which sports book you look at. And going into the year, Rourke was rated the number 22 transfer quarterback in the 2024 class. And up to this point, as far as betting odds, he's the 3rd highest bet transfer quarterback, only behind Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward. As far as quarterbacks in general, he's the 12th highest bet quarterback. So taking home the hardware of the Heisman might be some lofty aspirations for Rourke, especially if Ashton Genty is going to be doing the Michael Myers stance in the backfield and bulldozing any defense that stands in his way the rest of this season. But regardless, Rourke's performance and his ability to propel this Hoosier squad 6-0, it's enough to get in that national attention and starting to circulate this Indiana Hoosiers football team as a real threat in the Big Ten Conference. So what does that mean for the Hoosiers looking forward? They still got 6 games remaining. 3 of their last 6 opponents crack in the top 40 in passing defense, 2 of which, Washington and Ohio State, they crack in the top 5 if you're looking at a statistical standpoint. If Rourke and company are still able to perform at a high level, win some games, and if Rourke's able to put up the numbers he's been able to so far, there's not really much of a doubt that he could go down as having the best single-season performance in Indiana quarterback history. A lot of season left to be played, though, so it's going to be exciting to see what this Hoosier squad able to do. The Indiana Hoosiers, they have a big one. It's homecoming next week against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Cornhuskers, they are desperately looking for that ranked win, a big one under their resume, especially for Matt Rule. IUSTV Sports is going to have you covered for the remainder of the season. But for now, I'm Joe Cronin. Enjoy your fall break.
A sold-out Memorial Stadium is expected as Rourke and the Hoosiers look to remain perfect against Nebraska on the national stage for Big Noon Kickoff on Fox.
It's another October of success for Indiana soccer as they traveled up to Ann Arbor to take on 18th-ranked Michigan. And it was all the Hoosiers immediately as Justin Weiss netted his first 2 goals in the 5th and 31st minutes. Goals from Brecken Mincy and Quentin Elliott had the Hoosiers up 4-0 at the halftime break. And Michael Nessie added the goal in the second half en route to a 5-0 Hoosier victory. The 5-goal Hoosier victory is the largest in a conference game since 2017. Indiana is now 4-0-1 in October and will return back to Bill Armstrong Stadium to take on the Michigan State Spartans on Friday.
Indiana women's soccer continues to struggle in Big Ten play with a 1-6-1 record against Big Ten opponents. Our Quinn Richards recaps the latest Hoosier defeat.
Indiana women's soccer hosted Wisconsin Sunday afternoon at Bill Armstrong Stadium, and for the 5th time this season, were shut out at their home field, losing 1-0 to the Badgers.
It felt like we weren't going to score. We tried different things, and so disappointing. They deserve to win, and it's what it is.
A Wisconsin goal early in the first half proved to be the decider, as the Hoosiers' offense struggled to string together scoring opportunities.
I think that was especially first, that was the downfall. We just kept losing the ball. And we said before the game, we're going to keep it, we're going to move it, we're going to find a free player, and we just didn't do that well enough. So,
coming out of the half, the Hoosiers managed to find some extended periods of possession, but were unable to find a game-tying goal.
Yeah, we tried to go a little bit more direct and get balls around their center backs and play for second balls and try to get better pressure. But that, I think, it resulted in a little bit more, a couple corners and a couple situations, but not enough of what we wanted to.
Indiana will look to bounce back from Sunday's loss when it hosts Illinois Thursday night, in the Hoosiers' final home game of the season. From Bill Armstrong Stadium, I'm Quinn Richards, IUSTV Sports.
Following the home finale against the Fighting Illini, Indiana will finish out its regular season with a pair of road games against Minnesota and Nebraska.
Coming up after the break, we crown this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And volleyball falls short against ranked Penn State. Don't go away yet. This is Hoosier Sports Night. Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night.
Joining us in studio for this week's Hoosier Highlight is IUSTV sports reporter Ethan Bonner. Ethan?
Thanks, guys. Indiana men's soccer has some youth who has been stepping up to the plate big time this October. First, it was freshman Michael Nessie in a comeback win against the Kentucky Wildcats, and now it's our Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week, freshman Charlie Hoyer. Hoyer put away 2 against the Nittany Lions, snapping their 5-game win streak, the first 2 of his Hoosier career. Hoyer made his first appearance on the field since September 4th. The team sang in unison, "Charlie's on fire," in the locker room as the Hoosiers won 2-0 and will look to carry their momentum back to the field where they face Michigan State on Friday. I'm Ethan Bonner, sending it back to you guys at the desk.
The Associated Press recently released its preseason top 25 rankings for men's and women's hoops. Indiana ranked in both polls. Men's basketball checked in at 17 and was one of only 4 Big Ten teams to be ranked. Women's basketball was ranked 25th. Excitement continues to build in Bloomington as IU fans eagerly anticipate the start of the season. and the new-look Hoosier squads.
They got to produce, you know. I mean, you just don't give minutes to be giving them. You know, it's so competitive in practice right now that everybody's fighting to play, and I get it. You know, I mean, that's how it should be. So only time will tell.
We know this, we're going to have to play a little bit differently, you know, without Mackenzie. All of us have a tremendous amount of confidence in Lily Meister. We really do. We think that she's going to be special here for us the next, you know, couple seasons. But, you know, it has forced us to go back and look at some film, how we do want to play differently.
Indiana volleyball fell to number 3 Penn State this past Sunday, 3-1. Our Joe Elms has more.
Indiana put up a fight all game long, but they were ultimately no match for number 3 Penn State as they fell today 3-1. But on a day where Maddie Saris was awarded the game ball for reaching 1,000 career kills, she added 5 more to her total today.
I think that today finally felt like Indiana volleyball. Like, it's what we feel like in practice a lot, and like it finally just showed up today in a game, and it was really fun to be around.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we were firing from all angles, and we looked good today. That's us.
Head coach Steve Aird was proud of his team for their effort and fight despite the loss.
Passed the ball really well. Ramsey was great defensively. Candela was really solid offensively. Yeah, we were firing pretty good. I don't think you're in that situation against them unless everyone's playing pretty well. Thought we blocked great. So there was so many aspects to the game, and honestly, it's what's required if you're going to be in a match with these guys. So I thought we did really good things, and disappointed we didn't win, but not disappointed in the effort or the passion that we played with. I'm disappointed we had windows where if we were a little bit more clutch, we might end up winning the match, and so that's that. But I told them today I was really proud of them. Thought the effort was amazing. Thought we played really well.
The Hoosiers will head to Champaign, Illinois on Wednesday for a showdown with the Fighting Illini. For IUSTV Sports, I'm Joe Elms.
The Hoosiers will be on the road for their next 2, facing Illinois, and then they'll head to West Lafayette to take on rival and 10th-ranked Purdue.
The Indiana field hockey team won 2 crucial games over the weekend to take their record back to 500. The Hoosiers upset the number 12th-ranked Iowa Hawkeyes on the road in a 2-1 thrilling victory in double overtime. Senior midfielder Sofia Arabola Garcia scored the game winner on a penalty corner. The Hoosiers ran with that momentum and shut out Monmouth 4-0 to end the weekend. The Hoosiers are now 6-6 on the season and will host number 18th-ranked California on Friday.
Joining us in studio for this week's Candy Stripe calendar is IUSTV sports reporter Oliver Carr. Oliver?
Thanks, guys. We're in for a special moment for Indiana athletics as both football and men's basketball are ranked in the AP Top 25 for the first time since the early 90s. Add in women's basketball and that becomes an all-time first. With that being said, though, the Hoosiers still have a busy weekend ahead of them. On Friday, men's soccer hosts Michigan State as they look to add to their impressive 3-game winning streak. Catch that game at the Bill Armstrong Stadium at 7. Friday caps off with Hoosier Hysteria, a don't-miss event kicking off the basketball season at Assembly Hall beginning at 7:30. On Saturday, the number 16th-ranked IU football team celebrates homecoming with a noon matchup against Nebraska. The sold-out Memorial Stadium crowd will try to will their Hoosiers to a 7-0 record on the season. Later on Saturday, Indiana volleyball will be in West Lafayette taking on their bitter rivals, the Purdue Boilermakers, who are ranked 10th in the nation. Women's soccer wraps up the weekend as they begin their end-of-season road trip by heading to Minneapolis to take on the Golden Gophers. That game is at 1 p.m. That's all for a busy Candy Stripe calendar. Kara, Josh, back to you.
And that's our show for the week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports to keep up with all the latest in IU athletics. For our production crew behind us, I'm Kara Adams.
And I'm Josh Pose. We'll see you next week.